Hello, Carleton University. It's so great to be here. And I just want to thank the amazing team that, welcomed me so warmly. It was really great to be with the Dean, Dana, earlier on, Grant, and Moena, Kirsten, and everyone. Thank you so much. I feel the Ottawa love and the Carleton hospitality. It is really also amazing to go into the Founders Market and see all these women entrepreneurs who are out here showcasing their gifts. In fact, I was able to buy this jewelry from Bahana, Design, and I'm really glad that it matches my outfit. Carleton University is very special to me because this university produced a man that I married. My husband actually studied film studies here at Carleton University, and my entrepreneurial journey in Canada actually started right here in Ottawa. I lived here for 4 years before moving to Toronto. And prior to my coming to Canada, I actually was a television host in Nigeria. So when I came here, a lot of people told me, you will never be on TV here in Canada because you have an accent. And I said, that sounds great. But, I went to Algonquin College and, got my certificate in multimedia. And eventually, I started my company. It was called Bebia Productions at the time. And what I actually did was I started a website called Planet Africa Directory. And at that time, in 2000, it wasn't too popular to actually have websites. So what happened was I gave each business the opportunity to have their own page so they could share that page with their clients and had their own URL. And I actually studied, web design when you used to do coding. So I actually learned how to code, and I had this directory. I reached out to a lot of businesses, and it was very successful, actually. I traveled to Toronto, spoke to a lot of the entrepreneurs there, and they patronized my, directory. And eventually, when I got married, my husband and I joined forces together. When I met him, he used to have a production company just right here on Bank Street in Ottawa. And we used to do productions for government, agencies, embassies. We did a lot of weddings and, photography and that kind of stuff. And at some point, we just thought, let's take things to another level, because we've always dreamt of doing something in the media space, because at the time, we kind of noticed that there were not a lot of positive images about people of African descent on television, and we wanted to change that. And we started a TV show called Planet Africa, and we did it for a few years, and we thought, why don't we just go bigger? And we started a 24-hour TV channel, started publishing a few magazines, and right now we're the largest Black-owned media organization in Canada with 3 regularly scheduled magazines. Thank you. A 24-hour TV channel, and over 20 titles in our Discover magazine series. Today, we're talking about fostering female entrepreneurship. And we do know that entrepreneurship is the engine and the driving force for job creation, innovation, development, and economic growth. And I must say that female entrepreneurs are like the new thing, the new kids on the block, the new stars. And I'm really excited that women are stepping up. I have a few statistics that I came across that are really interesting and I would like to share with you. The first one is that 15.7% of women in Canada are running small to medium-sized enterprises that hire 1 or more people. And then when it comes to, women that are self-employed, it's 37%. And if you ask me, this is really a small percentage of our population. But another statistic actually said that women make 58% less than their male counterparts when they actually go into business. And another statistic actually said that about 38% of men go into business to make money. But guess how many percentage of women go into business to make money? Just 23%. That means that we actually go into business to make a difference, or maybe just to take care of our families. We're not really thinking about making big money. And that's something that actually sticks out to me, and I really want to challenge us women, to go big. So another statistic says that, women are 50%. So 50% of women that were polled by Women Enterprise Organization of Canada said that they're not interested in loans, so they're not thinking of getting loans. And when I walked into the Founders Market today, I wanted to put that to test. So I did speak to a few of the entrepreneurs, and I asked them, have you, thought of going bigger with your company? You're in Ottawa, have you thought of going to Ontario, to, the rest of the country and abroad? And have you ever thought of getting a loan? And most of them said, no, I haven't thought about that. And I thought, wow, this is really, true. Another statistic that would interest you, which I think you're going to clap for, is that in the whole world, globally, Canadian women are number one when it comes to new startups in business. Number one. Number one. And this is above the UK, the United States, and all the innovation-based economies. But guess what? Canadian women rank number 6 when it comes to established businesses. And what does that tell us? It means that these women that start small to medium-sized businesses either drop off on the way, or they're not just ready to go big. So it means that we have to encourage women. We have to encourage female entrepreneurship to make sure that women are actually, competing favorably with their male counterparts when it comes to established businesses. Now, I'd like to speak about some of the obstacles that affect women in terms of them prospering in the entrepreneurial space. The first one is gender bias. As we know, we live in a patriarchal society where there are gender roles, and from when we're kids, that we're thinking as women, our role is to get married, have some kids, and take care of the family. And even if we're thinking of making money, we're thinking of a career, like having a career path where we're going to be in an office and grow. We're not really thinking about, oh, you know what? I can be the next Steve Jobs, or, open something really big that will make a difference, worldwide. And the second thing is funding. So it's like a double jeopardy. So when you go to get funding as a woman, the funders or the loan, people that give out loans do not believe in us, because they tend to think that because we're women, we will not, focus on our business entirely, because we may have some distraction from the family side, or something that women are not good negotiators, so they will not be able to do that well in business like their male counterparts. Some will say, women, they don't have a staying power. There's so many excuses that they give, but the fact that we're not getting funding and we're not actually going after funding means something. Now, the next thing is systemic barriers. When we're driving here, I was listening to the news, and I was saddened to hear that in Afghanistan, they banned education for girls. And in certain parts of the world, the women cannot own properties. In certain parts of the world, women cannot even register a business. So you have to have a male co-signer before you can even start a business. So these are barriers that women face that make it impossible for women to even dream of becoming entrepreneurs in some parts of the world. I mean, we're blessed here in Canada, but still, the fact that society has put these norms and these limitations on us actually makes it impossible for some people to see themselves in the entrepreneurial space as big players. Now, the other thing is lack of mentorship. If you cannot see it, you cannot be it. We hear that. And that is really true. If you do not see a Martha Stewart, if you do not see a Rihanna, if you do not see a Dr. Liza, like we saw earlier, if you do not see Oprah, if you do not see all those people, you can never dream or think of becoming one of them. And sometimes, let's bring it to a micro level. If you do not see someone close in your circle who is made in the business, even if you're seeing the Martha Stewarts of this world, it still looks out of reach to you. So mentorship is a very important thing that has actually kept us as women from actually going into the space. Now, the other thing is lack of support. Sometimes as a woman, you have those dreams and you share it with your family members, but they just want to restrict you to the gender roles. Make sure that you pursue your dreams, because if you're not happy, ultimately your family will not be happy. Now, let's talk about what can be done, what society can do to foster female entrepreneurship, to support women, to kind of be like a wing, under their wings. Now, the first thing is mentorship. As I said earlier, we have to invest in, exposing women. Like what we're having here today is really great, because these women in the founders market, believe it or not, seeing other female entrepreneurs is going to encourage them to do better. Seeing, women who are doing, great. A few weeks ago, on March 8th, actually, I was at this event that got me really excited. It's called Phoenix Fire. So this is a group of women in technology that came together to start an angel, fund to help women in the tech field who are having new startups that have high impact possibilities. So they're going to be giving $100,000 to $250,000 to this, new startups run by women. And I thought this was really amazing. And these are a group of women who are already doing well. So they're not only going to give this money to these women because this is their, field of expertise. They're going to make sure that these women succeed in what they're doing. And I want to say to women who are already in business, who are successful or established, to look back and help other women. And as a society, we have to make sure that we create an ecosystem, we create spaces for women, not just to be able to get together like what we saw here today, but to be able to bounce ideas and support each other and invest in each other's businesses. And the other thing that we can do is to make sure that we have a conducive atmosphere for women to thrive. It's one thing, to say that we want to see more women in the entrepreneurial space, but the thing is the atmosphere conducive? Are we making sure that they have the loans that they need and everything that they need to succeed? But we have to make sure that the atmosphere is conducive, it's women friendly, because I know that the business world is a male-dominated world. So we have to make sure that we accept women and give them the respect that they deserve in this field. The other thing that we can do is to make sure that we create accelerator programs, incubator programs that women can go to and learn and train so that they can compete favorably, they can compete with their male counterparts in this space. Now, I do know that as women, we often say that we're marginalized and we do not have opportunities like the men, but as an immigrant and as a black woman, there are a few intersectionalities that are against me. I am black, I am a woman, and then I'm a new immigrant, and on top of that, I have an African accent. I mean, these are like multiple barriers against me, right? But when I came to this country and I was told that I would never be on television, and because I had an accent, they just told me, forget. Just, go get a job as a nurse or whatever, study to become a nurse or personal support worker or another career, because this is no longer for you. But the thing is, this is the only thing I knew how to do, and I loved it. So my husband and I, we sent a few, proposals out, and we got a few no's, but we were not deterred by that. We kept on going until we got a yes from Omni Television, and we started our own TV show. So I would say to the women, it is okay for us to demand for our seat on the table, to ask for our space on the table, but sometimes you have to take up space. And that's what I want to encourage and want to inspire women to do. Begin to take up space. I know the good thing about taking up space, you do things at your own terms. We produce what we want to produce right now. We have our own channel. We do exactly what we're passionate about. We send the message that we want to send. I tell you an interesting story that I like to tell a lot. It's about a little boy. So this little boy, he went to this wise man and said, "Wise man, am I going to be great in the future?" And the wise man said, "Let's find out." So he drew 2 circles on the floor, one on the right and one on the left, and he brought out a lizard. I don't know who is scared of lizard, I am. He brought out a lizard and said, if this lizard goes into the right circle, you're going to be great. But if it actually goes into the left circle, you're doomed. So they started watching this lizard, and it was advancing towards the right circle. And this boy was like, yeah, I'm going to be great. I'm going to be great. Then all of a sudden, when it was about to enter the right circle, it turned around and started going towards the left circle. And the boy was like, oh, I'm doomed now. But guess what? Just as the lizard was about to enter the left circle, he picked the lizard and threw it right into the right circle. And the wise man was like, why did you do that? He said, how can I sit here and just watch my future go down the drain? And the wise man said, you answered correctly, my son, because your future is in your hands. And that's what I want to say to the female entrepreneurs. Your future as an entrepreneur is in your hands. Now, I want to leave us with 5 things that we can do as women to take up space. And not just to take up space where people will kind of notice, that will make a big impact in the world. Because never has the world needed women than now. Because I think that what's lacking in the world right now is love, is empathy, the things that women can bring to the table. And I know as women entrepreneurs, when we go into business, we're trying to be like men. We're trying to rule like men. We're trying to lead like men. But I want us to come into business and be like women, because that unique thing that we bring to the table is so much needed today. We're natural managers, we're nurturers, and we kind of bring more passion and love to the table. And I know people say do not do business with a heart. I do business with a heart. So bring your whole self, everything that you have to the table. And I tell you, if you do that, there's no way you're not going to succeed. So I want to leave you with 5 things, and this is actually from the PRESS formula, which is a formula that I created after all these years of being in the media and learning from all these people that I've interviewed thousands of people over the years, from presidents to celebrities to just name it. And I've learned so much, and I came up with this formula. It's called the PRESS formula. It's an acronym for process, resolve, execute, survive, and sell. The first one is process. Process. When you want to go into business, I know sometimes we're passionate, we get up and we start a business, but the best way to start your business is to process everything, do your research, prepare. If you do not prepare, they say it's like, preparation for failure. And it is always better to prepare than to repair. So do your research, do your homework, and make sure that you find out what is the purpose. What is it? Business is when you bring value, and in exchange for that value that you're bringing, you get paid. That is entrepreneurship. So what value are you bringing? What is the purpose of your business? What is it that you're really passionate about? Think about all that. Because there's something that Simon Sinek said that I really love. He said, people don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. So what is your why? Why do you want to do what you want to do? And see, the reason my husband and I are still in business today is because our why is solid. We've survived 2 recessions, and we're still here. We're going bigger. The last time there was a recession and nobody wanted to advertise, money wasn't coming in, we never even thought of quitting. We just thought, what else can we do? What haven't we done? And we took stock. We asked ourselves the question. So people don't want to advertise, but who has budgets right now? Which organizations have budgets? And we thought governments have budgets. So we started hitting governments. We got a big contract from the government of Ontario. We actually started our Discover magazine series during a recession. And I tell you, during a recession, we grew 200%. We hired more people. We actually got the biggest contract in the history of our organization. We started the Discover magazine series. We've produced Discover Zambia, Discover Zimbabwe, Discover Kenya, Discover Nigeria, which was so big, we got to do a few things with the government. So I say to people out there, once you settle your why, the rest of the journey is going to be easy. And have a solid business plan. That's the only way that you can go big. Because you want to build a big house, you have to have a good foundation. But if you want to have a small house, you can have a small foundation. It doesn't matter. But if you want to build a big house, have a solid foundation so that when the wind blows, when the storms come, you're still standing strong. And that's what I want to say to women. Focus on that business plan. If you have to hire somebody to do it for you, do it. That is the only way forward. The next thing is resolve in the PRESS formula. So process, resolve. And why is resolve number 2? Resolve is number 2 because sometimes when you process what you're about to do, when you see what it involves, when you analyze it, you become scared. Like when we wanted to launch a 24-hour TV channel, we did our research, and it was going to cost millions of dollars, which we didn't have at the time. We became intimidated, and many people would have just said, you know what, forget it. I'm not going to do this. But, so resolve is actually a firm commitment, making up your mind that you're going to stay the course, you're going to do this. And so once you're committed, nothing can stop you. Someone said that the one thing that cannot be conquered is a human will on fire. And when you say, I will and mean it, you're definitely going to do it. So resolve is number 2. And number 3 is execute. Execute. So process, resolve, execute is the next one. Execute, you see, opportunity is like an elevator. If it's your time to step out of that elevator and you don't, it may take you back down. So make sure that you plunge. Do not be afraid when you have that idea. Make sure that you plunge. Having an idea is like flapping your wings. But actually putting your idea, executing your idea is like flying. So make sure that you actually take the steps and start the process. And when you're doing that, make sure you have a good team. Make sure that you focus on excellence. Excellence is everything. Knowing your why and knowing why you're doing what you're doing, making sure that giving up is not an option, and all those things are what are going to make female entrepreneurs not just strong but prosper. Now the next thing is survive. So process, resolve, execute, survive. And why is survival the next one? Because when you're now executing your plan, you're going to face obstacles. It's inevitable. You have to face obstacles. No matter how good your business plan is, no matter how excellent, how good a team you have obstacles. But see, obstacles can be opportunities, as we saw, with the recession story that I told you earlier, how we, went bigger during the recession. If there was no recession, maybe we wouldn't have even thought of doing the Discover magazine series. Survival is a firm determination to proceed in spite of obstacles. It's saying, I'm not going to give up, I'm not going to give in, I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing, I'm here and I'm here to stay. If this is not going to work, I'm going to try this way. Persistence. Is saying, I'm going to persist, I'm going to stick it out. When you're at the survival stage, this is where you have to innovate. You have to think outside the box. You have to ask yourself, what can I do? What else can I do? See, the survival stage is very dangerous. You know why? Because you can get stuck there. You can get stuck there. You're surviving. You're just barely paying your bills, and that's okay. You're not thinking of going big. But I don't want anyone to stop at the survival stage, because it is detrimental. Because if you stop aspiring, you start expiring. So when you get to the survival stage, do what you have to do to survive, but always have your goal in your mind, where you're going, and that's going big. Now the next thing is sail. Sail is when you're now established. Earlier on, we said that Canada ranks #1 when it comes to women in startups, but #6 when it comes to women in running established businesses. So what we want to do when we're established is to make sure that we're consistent on our quality. We want to make sure that we give back, and as women, I know that's not a problem for us. We always give back. Make sure that you give back, and make sure that you don't stop dreaming, because when you stay, like we started with one TV show, then we started having, shows on other channels, then we had a show on Yes TV, on Vision TV, we started producing content for, CBC television, and then we have our own 24-hour channel, we have all these magazines. Now we're thinking of launching online platforms, and you have to have that growth mindset all the time. Otherwise, before you know it, what happened to BlackBerry? What happened to Blockbuster? What happened to Agfa Films and all these companies is because they became comfortable in their success. A few years ago, I met Michael Lechin, the billionaire, Canadian billionaire, and he said something that stuck with me. He said, success begets complacency, and complacency leads to failure. So in that state, make sure that you're not complacent. And I want to challenge the women out here. I know as women, we're nurturers. So when we start a business, we're passionate about it. We want to hold on to it. We want to nurture it. And we want to do it small because it's manageable and because we're too afraid to plunge. Fear is one of the things that inhibits us, and the lack of courage, lack of self-will. The other day, I was reading about imposter syndrome, and they said that 70% of people that have imposter syndrome are women. And imposter syndrome is when you feel inadequate, you feel out of your league, you feel like a fraud. So I say to women, do not be afraid to go big. When you have a business, it's okay to start small, but tell yourself, I'm going to be small for this much. Don't stay stuck in the survival mode. Go out there, get the capital that you need. Like I surveyed the room, and a lot of the women in the founders market are not thinking of getting loans, are not thinking of expanding their business. Don't be satisfied with just being small. Imagine the impact that you could be making if you had millions of dollars and you can actually become a social entrepreneur and give back to your community and make life even better for people around you. So think about all that. So do your business plan very well. Go out there and get capital. Go to the banks. And I think that earlier on we said funding is one of the problems that women have, and I believe that all these banks and organizations have to make sure that they hire women in those positions that actually make decisions regarding loans, and the people who give the loans have to be trained to make sure that they understand what it means to be a female entrepreneur and to encourage women, because I know that what women bring to the table as entrepreneurs is what our economies around the world need to survive. I mean, if you look at Norway, for instance, they actually passed a legislation that a certain percentage of women must be in boards. And since that happened, they have actually, taken note of the progress that a lot of these companies and organizations have made. Most of them have grown at least 30%. And this shows that when women come into the business sphere, or into those boardrooms, like, we make a profound difference. So when you actually have gotten the loan, guess what? You can hire the people who know what to do. You see Dr. Liza? Dr. Liza just got one of the dragons on Dragon's Den to invest in her shoes. When I bought my first Dr. Liza shoes, I paid $500 for it. And that was because she couldn't produce a large quantity, so each item, each unit was very expensive. But right now, you can get a Dr. Liza shoe for $99. And that's because she's gotten capital infusion, and she's able to now kind of produce it at a cheaper rate and pass the savings to her clients. So think about what you could do. You could save your customers money if you're able to get capital in, and you can expand. And guess what? You can get people who know how to do marketing to market your business for you. Dr. Liza has somebody who does her international marketing. As you saw in the video, she's been on CBS, she's been on American television, and all kinds of television shows here in Canada. And that's because she's been able to pay the right people to do her marketing. When we were kind of holding on to our business, we didn't want any capital infusion. We couldn't grow beyond a certain point. But when we said, you know what, it's time to go big, let's get the investors in, let's get the loans in, we now were able to hire the right people, do the right things, and then we grew big. And now we're able to make a bigger impact because we have more resources and we're able to do more. Let's go big. I want to hear all the women here say it with me. Let's go big. Again, let's go big. So let's go big. Let's think big. Ellen Johnson, I interviewed her many years ago, the former president of Liberia. She said something. She said, if your dream does not scare you, it's not big enough. It's not big enough. So let it scare you. Yes, it was scary to launch a 24-hour TV channel, but we launched it anyways. It is scary. By the way, I came here with a very good friend of mine, Debbie Mawa. Debbie is an award-winning entrepreneur and the founder and president of Beauty Profs, and she produces, hair and beauty products. She's also, home to Signature Extensions and Fusion Skincare. Yeah. And Debbie, she sells her products internationally. Actually, her biggest market is in the United States. And right now, she's in Africa, she's growing. She was talking to me about going to Nigeria and all that. And during the pandemic, we had a chat, and she said, Patricia, since people are no longer going out to the hair salons, my products are not quite selling, so I've decided to come up with care kits. So people will order these care kits, and I had videos on how they can take care of their hair at home. And she said it was doing so well. Do not be afraid to do your business full time. For 20 years, I have not written a resume. I have not sent out a resume. I have not worked for anyone. We've been entrepreneurs. When things were tough, we didn't say we're going to leave or we're going to do this. We figured out ways to do it. I know the thing, when you have no plan B, you will work on the plan A. You will do whatever it takes to make plan A work. And that's what I would say to women. Don't be afraid to focus on your business. What made me decide that I was going to be a full-time entrepreneur? I just had my wedding. I called my boss and I said, my dad is going back to Nigeria, so I'm going to take him to the airport. I'm going to be late today. And she said, that's all right. And so after dropping my dad, I went to work, and she said, you're late. I said, but I called. She said, I know. You're fired. So I'm like, I'm fired? I said, but you were at my wedding. I just had a wedding. You were at my wedding. Not only was she at my wedding, she wore what we call ashwebi. Ashwebi is like, Nigerians, when we have weddings, we have these different traditional outfits, and everybody wear the same fabric, but in different styles. So she actually wore one of the ashwebis. I'm like, I just got married. I have debts, I have bills to pay. She's like, you're fired. She even brought my things and gave them to me at the door, wouldn't even let me in. So I sat down the staircase. There was a staircase, so I sat down the staircase for like 20 minutes. My husband had just dropped me. I didn't have the energy to call him and say, come back, I've been fired. Because I was like, what is he going to say? Because he's a full-time businessman, and we broke because we just spent all our money on the wedding. So while I was sitting there, I made up my mind. I gave everything to that. I give everything to every job I do. So I said, I give everything to this job. I was fired for taking my dad to the airport. And I sat there and I said, today is the day I'll become a full-time entrepreneur, no longer doing this thing. And that was how, and I've never looked back, and I don't regret it. The success that we've seen today is because we actually have a purpose. So go back to your why, get a good business plan, go for the money, go big. And I want to say this last sentence. If you can be excellent, don't be good. If you can be extraordinary, don't be excellent. Be totally amazing. And the world is waiting for us women. So let's go big. Let's go big. Thank you so much, Carleton University. Love you guys. Thank you.